big thank you to Anne. That was very insightful. I'm going to introduce somebody next. She is so passionate about this. This is definitely her focus, and we are really blessed to work with her through Ohio Realtor Leadership Academy. Veronica Cardello is the Assistant Vice President of External Engagement for Ohio Realtors, where she leads the organization's local advocacy, global business, and sustainability initiatives. Since joining in 2020, she has played a key role in supporting grassroots efforts, strengthening community partnerships, and expanding internal engagement. Veronica also directs issues mobilization, RPAC strategy, and Realtor Party activities, working closely with local associations across the state. Prior to her role at Ohio Realtors, she served as a political field representative for the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. Veronica holds a Master of Public Policy and Public Administration from American University and a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Slippery Rock University. She currently serves on the board of directors for America in Bloom. Thank you.
Oh, come on, we can be louder than that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much for entertaining. Oh, this is really loud. I didn't expect that. I'm so sorry. So I appreciate being here with you today because I'm very excited to show you all the different wonderful things that we are working on at Ohio Realtors. So we have decided to take this leap of faith, if you will, in the development industry, not just because we had a lot of members asking us, hey, what can we really do to help support housing initiatives? And we had a lot of members asking us, how does it all work together with local governments? How does it work together with our realtor associations? What really makes sense? So just by a show of hands, I'm a very interactive person. So I am so sorry you get to be here with me at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. But needless to say, how many of you have seen this already? Oh, that's beautiful. Twice? Okay. All right. So how many of you have been engaged in what we have produced? Meaning, like, how have you taken this back to your local municipalities, your local associations, anything like that? Yep. Okay. All right. That will start the conversation. We'll get there. We will absolutely get there. So, okay. So we started this venture about 3 years ago at Ohio Realtors. We have several different committees. One of them is Local Government Forum. And in Local Government Forum, all of our realtor members were asking us, what's really impeding development? It's different all across Ohio. No one community is the same, right? So how can we really address what is impeding development? So we contracted with the Greater Ohio Policy Center to really identify some of those factors as to how we can really engage and see what is really taking place in not only our municipality level, but also like at different perspectives. So from the realtor's perspective, what's happening, from the lender perspective, what's happening. So we really wanted to make sure that we had a very well-rounded approach to this. So in that, I will tell you, we found that there were about 25 different policies. 25 different policies, ordinances, you name it, anything that was in the administrative code that was really impeding development. Some of them were repetitive. Some of them didn't make sense. So something was adopted in, we'll just say an ordinance was adopted back in 1930. The standards have changed since 1930, and it was never updated since like 2004. But then nothing was rewritten over that. So it was absolutely wild to see. And I know many of you here are experts in your field, so you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to these different policies, right? So out of Local Government Forum, we really wanted to try to address the housing crisis by promoting infill housing development. So we chose this because what we found is we have a lot of vacant lots across the entire state. We worked with the Land Bank Association, and the Land Bank Association was actually very nice. They were able to gather data that suggested we have about 200,000 vacant lots across the whole state. Okay, let that sink in for a second. That's a lot. In some communities, depending on what size, there were 1,500, and that was most of the community. So like we have been demolishing, the state has given all of our municipalities a lot of money throughout the years for the past, we'll say 2 decades or so, to demolish vacant, blighted, abandoned properties. You have some brownfield money that goes into renovation as well. But what was happening is nobody had a game plan to put something back on that property. And then because we have changed the codes, depending on where you're at, so many times, what was happening is it became non-conforming use. So you couldn't put anything on that property. So now you've still got vacancy, and you have no idea what to do with that property. So it became a very tricky situation pretty quickly. So what we did is, like I said, this took about 3 years in the making. So it's been a long time coming. We decided that we were going to put together an independent advisory committee that were made up of builders, developers, different housing advocates. So we had the Land Bank Association, we had Cohio, we had all of these different housing advocates at the state level. We had realtor members, architects, planners, city leaders. We got everybody together, and this is probably why it took 2 years, because trying to coordinate schedules all across the state was a little tricky. But needless to say, we were really determined to get this done, So we asked everybody from their perspective, what is impeding housing in their region? Because we know that there's not a one-size-fits-all model. Everybody is different in Ohio, right? So when we got everybody together, we realized the project was actually a lot bigger than what we had thought. So it wasn't just necessarily zoning codes. It was actually a playbook. Because in some communities, they hire a planner or they hire a developer, and that planner or developer has to go through a lot of research to figure out what could actually fit on that lot, right? So it became a much bigger problem than what we had realized. So out of that, our advisory committee was very passionate, very dedicated, and they wanted to see tangible solutions. We didn't want just something to sit on a shelf. So out of those tangible solutions, what we were able to come up with was this entire book, if you will, that has a la carte zoning adjustments. So we're talking about small, minor changes. I think when we went and started this venture, I will tell you, the craziest ordinance that I read was that for every single family house, you had to have 6 parking spaces. Yeah, I know. For all you planners out there, that's a lot of parking. That's a lot of parking, I know. So we were kind of taken aback by that, because if that's happening in one community, who copy pasted repeated in other communities, right? So that was one of the things that we wanted to make sure we addressed. The other thing we wanted to address was setback lines, because a lot of folks had repetitive setback lines in their code. So we put together some, like I said, they're small changes. If you already have them, great. This is not applicable to you, but if you don't have them, it's something that we would highly encourage you to take a look at. And these are all recommendations. These are not like Ohio Realtor saying, hey, you're gonna do this. This is us saying, hey, this is what we found in our research. These are the small, tangible things that you can make changes to, and it will make sense for your area. So then what we did is we designed 2 free building plans. F-R-E-E, that spells free? Yeah? Right? So 2 free building plans, because that was another component to this that we didn't realize was actually impeding development. Our realtor members can sit here and tell you that when you are sitting down with a client and you're trying to figure out, like, hey, what kind of house, like, do you want to buy a house in this neighborhood? Do you want to build in this neighborhood? From start to finish, that was one of the costs that was really impeding development across the entire state, because we couldn't get a finite number on what it actually costs to come up with a building design. And I say finite number because I will tell you, we'll just generalize, in more urban areas of Ohio, it is significantly more expensive to develop a building plan than it is in rural areas of Ohio. It was staggering, because I think one of the ones we just did, we were working on a cost-benefit analysis across the state, and we were shocked at one of the plans to do the same like 1,600 square house that we put out there for a urban area versus a rural area. The difference was almost $50,000. So that was one of the biggest things that we saw as an impediment to development. So we wanted to put together this plan so that they were free building plans. Anyone can use them. It was something that our committee was very passionate about, very, very passionate about. So the last thing that we did was we said, hey, we want to make sure that we're setting everybody up for success. So we put together an entire start to finish pre-approved program guide that shows you in a municipality, if you're coming from that perspective, how you can implement this locally and how it can make a difference locally. So it does not have all the answers, I will say that, but it does have a majority of the bulk of the things that we were looking at when we did our analysis. So how can the zoning changes help? What we found is that many of the lots, out of everything that the Land Bank Association have given us, they were considered unbuildable. They were unbuildable because of different requirements across the state. What it took to adopt zoning changes, it depended on the area. Sometimes it could be months. Sometimes it could be easily as 2 weeks. The longest one I saw on the books was it took, for one zoning change, it took about 1.5 years, and that's because nobody agreed. Nobody had a general consensus on what made sense. So we found that our current zoning codes often really prohibited that development because they didn't meet the market demand. Our zoning codes sometimes in certain cases were so outdated that the market demand was completely different than what it was, again, going back to 1930. So a lot of our different zoning codes that we have across the state, they're not all unified. Not all unified, so, and rightfully so. Every area is different. Every area is different. So then we decided with the free building plans, with the cost of new development, everything's increasing, everything's expensive. To make it free, it would really lower the design fee and the architectural fee that many of our homeowners were experiencing, even developers. Because quite a few, since we've launched this, and I will tell you, this is, I will say it's still in its infancy, if you will. We launched this on March 25th of this year. In 24 hours, we had over 400 people download the free building plans. In 48 hours, we had over 1,500 people download the free building plans. So it was absolutely remarkable to see, and then everybody started asking questions of how can we implement this here, how can we do this there. This was a really great idea. I've had realtor members actually come up to me and say, hey, I actually gave this to my client. And I said, if they want to build an infill lot, say in downtown Dayton or Centerville or wherever you're at throughout the state, Cleveland Heights either, it made it so much easier and tangible for them to see that it's actually possible. Home ownership is possible. So that really spoke to bringing new life to the conversation. So with our two free building plans, we have several different options. If you want to follow along in the book, you are more than welcome to. So we're looking at page, it starts on page 12. On page 12, like I said, I'm very interactive, not your typical speaker. But our narrow single family house, we have 2 different designs for that. We have a 2-bedroom house. We also have a 3-bedroom with a first floor bedroom. On our versatile front back duplex, we have 2 separate units. This is my favorite rendition because of how versatile it can be. So we were able to do a 2-story in the front, a 1-story in the back, then we did 2 2-stories, and then we were able to combine them all to one giant single family house. And we'll go over the details here in a minute. So if you're, like I said, if you're following along in the book, our narrow single family house starts out at 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath with the optional first floor 3rd bedroom. If you're looking at the rendition, it's on page 15. So everything in the big black bold lines is the basic of the house, and then everything in the blue is the, there we go, everything in the blue dotted lines That's optional. It's something that was optional that we added. So at its very core, this 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath is 1,112 square feet. It fits on a lot size that is a minimum of 30 feet. A minimum of 30 feet, and that's including setback lines. That's including setback lines. So with that being said, you can go as far as deep as the lot as you want. So if you want to make it, if you want to stretch the home out, you are more than welcome to do so. If you want to make that lot size itself applicable to adding an accessory dwelling unit in the back or a garage or something like that, you are more than welcome to do so, as long as it's within the city guidelines or the municipality guidelines. So in this particular rendition, we wanted to make sure that, again, versatility was the name of the game. Our team was very committed to making sure that we could do this across the state. So after you look at the base version, you can add on a 3rd bedroom. A 3rd bedroom would be added on to the 1st floor in the back. That would make this a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath at 1,423 square feet. So if you wanted to add the sleeping porch option as well, and I know what you're all thinking, what is a sleeping porch? I get this question all the time. So if you are thinking about vacationing in like Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, any of the southern states, we stole this out of their playbook. A sleeping porch is an additional, it's like an additional bonus room. So what they used to use the sleeping porch for was, back in the day when people could take naps in the middle of the day, you could actually have the porch either open or enclosed. So if you did either, you could actually go out and take a nap in the middle of the day or in the evening or whenever you preferred, and that's why they called it a sleeping porch. Okay? So with this design, what we were able to do is, in the renditions, if you go and download it, you'll see that we actually beefed up the sleeping porch, because we wanted to make sure that we had an optional child's playroom, an office, a home gym, something like that along those lines, so that you had bonus space to use. And with that, you're looking at an additional 132 square feet. And if you enclose that itself, you're looking at a single family house of about 1,600 square feet in totality. So again, something that our developers, they were really passionate about. They wanted to make sure that you had that versatility, and they wanted to make sure no house was the same, so that's why they provided different options. You can add on a 3rd bedroom if you need it. You can add on the sleeping porch if you need it. If you don't, it's the core at its base. It's 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. So with our versatile front back duplex, this was the option that we decided we were going to do 3 different things with. Like I mentioned before, we've got a 2-story in the front, so that's going to stay the same. And then we have a 1-story in the back or a 2-story in the back, and then we also have an option where you can combine all of them. So in our 1-story rear unit plan, this is my favorite of all the renditions. Everyone, at the end of this, you will be able to say this is my favorite, because what we did here is we wanted to make sure that we had the option to allow for families to stay in place. So if my parents, if I'm thinking about building a house, I may consider building this duplex style where it's 2 stories in the front, 1 story in the back, so that I have a 1-story in the back for my parents to come and stay with me, or my mother-in-law. I love my mother-in-law. So she can come and watch my 3 doodles. Like, I think it would be phenomenal to have her come watch my 3 doodles. So when we did this, a couple of things. Our committee was very concerned about the older housing stock that we had. They were also concerned that we weren't addressing the needs of all the different folks that are aging in place right now. And we don't have enough patio homes. We don't have enough facilities. We don't have enough of the different style resources that we should have for all of our different, our older population. So when they designed this, they were like, hey, we can actually do something really cool here. So if you wanted to have 2 separate units, you can absolutely have 2 separate units, and you can rent this out if you want. The goal of this is home ownership, but I'm not going to deter someone, because You can own the front unit if you want and rent out the back unit, because a lot of people actually, since I've been doing this, have said to me, hey, I've got an 18-year-old that I need to teach them responsibility. And I'm like, if you're brave enough, you can put them in the back. If you're brave enough, I don't know. So they have 2 separate entrances. They also have 2 separate entrances to the rear of the property as well. One has a covered patio, the other does not. Then with this particular unit, the front unit itself at its base, at its core, is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 1,420 square feet. The rear unit itself is an additional 1 bedroom, 1 bath at 580 square feet. So you're looking at a width of a home of 30 feet. So this would fit on a lot size of 40 feet. A lot size of 40 feet. And then again, the length is as long as you need to make it. Right? So with this option, we decided that we were going to make sure in all of the renditions that you had that optional interior connection wall. It's called a sound isolation wall. It is up to code. It is up to fire standards. I get those questions all the time too. So that sound barrier, that sound isolation wall, that gives you a lot of privacy, especially if you want to make sure that there are 2 separate units itself. With the 2-story rear unit plan, so this is the 2-story and the 2-story. This one is also one of my favorites because you can also have that sound isolation wall. You can have an interior connection if you want. You don't have to have the interior connection, but this gives you a lot of different options. Again, at its core, it's 1,420 square feet. This particular rear unit adds an additional 1,160 square feet. So it's pretty sizable. It adds an additional 2 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. So if you're looking at the front unit, you've got 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. The back unit is 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. So you got a lot of bedrooms and a lot of bathrooms. With this option, though, you absolutely can take this option and make it 1 single family house. You can take the other option as well and make that 1 single family house. If you wanted to do that, it's 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bath. It's 2,002 square feet. Again, you can add a porch on if you want to, or if you don't want to. This is not a sleeping porch, so it's not as wide or as long as the sleeping porch option. But we wanted to make sure people, if they're front, I don't remember the proper terminology, but when you go outside, you greet your neighbors, you're sitting on the front porch enjoying your iced tea. Anybody? No? I know, like, there's a terminology for it, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Absolutely drawing a blank. I don't know. My neighborhood's full of it. Like, all my neighbors, they like to come outside, sit on their front porch around 7:30, and just say hi, wave, do that fun stuff. So, who knows? Okay, so how can pre-approval programs help? I cannot add any more P's to this. A pre-approval program, what we have found is that it actually expedites the permitting process. It eases a lot of regulatory barriers for our municipalities. It also reduces costs for potential homeowners. We preserve the neighborhood character because with these designs, what we did is we just focused on the interior. We did not focus on any of the exterior. So if your community requires hardy backer board or slate roofing or anything like that, you are absolutely more than welcome to do that with these designs. We made sure that they were very versatile in that regard. So we wanted to really focus on promoting the stabilization of existing neighborhoods with this project. And that's because since we do have so many vacant lots across the entire state, this would really help drive home. 200,000 vacant lots means 200,000 potential homeowners, 200,000 potential families. The possibilities are absolutely endless if we can focus on infill development, and that's what we did. Now, we have had a couple folks ask me, can we take these renditions and can we make a brand new community? Yes, you can. The thing that I'm going to say, though, is it does not reduce the cost at that point, because now our goal would be to, where is the infrastructural dollars coming? Where are all these other dollars coming? The reason why we wanted to focus on infill is, in theory, everything's in theory till it's in practice. In theory, you already have access to all of those utilities if it's a lot that is infill. Okay, so that was another cost-saving measure that we were able to do. So all of our different efforts, like I said, have been thought out thoroughly with a lot of folks in mind, a lot of different things happening. When it comes to existing pre-approval programs, I will tell you that they are catching on in droves. I can sit here and honestly attest to you all, 2 weeks before we launched this project, and my realtors will tell you I'm very upset about this. Canada beat us to the punch. So Canada decided that they were going to launch an entire nationwide program. They did 49 patterns for the entire nation of Canada. 49 patterns. It was a lot. Yeah, have you seen the article? Have you seen the patterns? Yeah, they're pretty cool. Really, really cool to check out. But they launched theirs 2 weeks prior to us. They spent a lot more money than we did, I will tell you that. But they did that. They were the first with regard to nations to implement a program like this. Michigan, it's hit or miss. Some communities have adopted pre-approval programs, but they've done it on their own. They haven't done it as a state. Vermont has allowed for a lot of different technical assistance programs from the state to do it on your own. So if you're a community in Vermont, you can go and ask for technical assistance from the state and see how that applies. But in terms of states, Ohio is the first to implement a wide variety of it, talking about zoning, talking about financing tools, talking about actually free housing plans. So we were the first to do that in its totality, and I say that very confidently because I talk to my peers all the time, and nobody else. There are quite a few states that are thinking about replicating after us, absolutely. But this is one of the first programs to actually really get off the ground and running. So as I mentioned before, we released this in March 2025. This will take you to all the online resources. The book is great. The book is absolutely great, but the online resources are better because we update that live time. I will tell you that we've added a lot of financing tools to help with these different projects. So you can go online and you can check that out. We are recording the number of municipalities. Since March, I will say that we've probably had about 30 municipalities all across the state that have changed their zoning codes, and they've actually thought about this with this in mind, because some of them actually knew about this project, knew it was coming down, so they've already implemented it. Lima being one of them, Cleveland Heights being another, Youngstown being another. So it's been a wild array of communities that have been able to make those changes. I know the city of Sandusky actually put out a request for proposal to work with developers up in Sandusky to make these different housing types, to start with single family and to start with duplex style. I will tell you, if you want to adopt this, you're more than welcome to. If you want to design different ones, you are more than welcome to. We just gave you the playbook so you can build off of it how you see fit for your community. So if you have any questions, I'm ready. Yes, sir.
I know a lot of these infill houses, originally when the house was built, they all had garages. Now that they're in vacant lot, do you have any garage plans to complement the housing plan?
We don't have any garage plans, and we didn't do that because there were so many different requirements across the state. It made it very challenging to put together something like that, because some of them require, some municipalities actually require the garage to be an accessory dwelling unit. So it was, I know, right? It's been absolutely wild to see how many people with all the different requirements. So if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. You can add it to whatever plans that you see fit.
And what about a material list for a particular house? Let's say I own a vacant lot in a neighborhood and I want to build on it. For me to try to figure out what my exact cost would be, if I had a material list that I could go and see what the materials are going to cost and give me a basic estimate of what the overall cost would be.
So unfortunately, we couldn't provide a material list because we tried that. We, when we first, when all of our team got together, they were like, let's do a material list. Then when we went through the cost benefit analysis process, we found that it wasn't going to be actually a true material list because each community required something different. Some communities required hardy backer board, which is more expensive than traditional vinyl siding. Other communities required a specific type of roofing shingle, So we couldn't provide that material list because of the different dynamics in each community. Now, if that's something that the community wants to produce itself, they absolutely can. We're not going to shy away from that, but I will tell you, I took our rendition, I took our design plan specifically to, I think it was like 84 Lumber, and they were able to give me a material list. So you can go to a different, you can go to a lumber yard or something like that, and they were able to provide that. Now, again, you're going to have to check with all your regulations. I am not sitting here saying that, you know, that's going to be the finite way. But I will also say that I've been working with, since we launched this, I've been working with a modular company up in Cleveland, and fingers crossed, knock on wood, lucky rabbit's foot, we'll have a spec home in October, because they were able to take a copy of our plan and put it into the modular style. And when they did that, they were actually able to drive the cost down between that price point of $200,000 and $300,000. So, but that's with modular. That is not traditional stick built. Yes, ma'am.
So, along with Scott's question, right?
Yeah.
So I understand the variability, but do you have takeoffs?
When you say takeoffs.
Well, like we need so many linears from site.
Oh, yes. So we kept everything as broad as we could. We just couldn't give you a detailed list of like, okay, you need like, we can give you 24 boxes of shingles, but we couldn't give you the shingle type.
Right.
Yeah.
So that you have the takeoff.
Yes. Other questions? Excited? Yeah? Not so excited? Okay. Yes, ma'am. So we actually, there's a community outside of Columbus that reached out to us, and they're trying to construct entirely new build. So it's not going to be as cost saving as I mentioned before, because they don't have the accessibility to all the utilities right now. So there's one community that's trying to do it. Sandusky just put out an RFP for all of their vacant lots. They took an inventory of all their vacant lots and they said, hey, we want builders up here. So we do have some pockets. Like I said, I'm really fingers crossed we're going to have a spec home built in October. That's my goal. But if you think about it from start to finish, we launched this in March. To have a house built by October, we're really excited. We're absolutely excited. So, Miss Kelly, I saw your hand.
Hi, Veronica.
Yeah.
Is there QR code that was on the other PowerPoint page in this book?
In the book? No, but if you go to housingoh.org, yeah, housingoh.org, you can go on there, you can build a profile. So it's just so we can see who's building profiles. It's not going to send you spam, I promise. It's not going to send you to all these different other places, but you can go on there, build a profile, and you can download right directly from there. And you can mix and match with types of housing. So we do have a running list of all the different communities that we've been working with that have decided to make those changes, implement those changes, and see where we're going. But we're really excited to see what traction it takes. Some individual builders have actually said, hey, I love this. We're going to take your plans and we're going to build upon it. Because some communities, like I mentioned, like the city of Lima is a good case in point, because they have 1,500 vacant lots in Lima. Yeah, 1,500 vacant lots in Lima. And they have been working really, really hard with all of their developers up there to incentivize them to fill all of those vacant lots. Because they fall within the parameters that we have built, so they're excited to use this guideline. Yes, ma'am.
You said modular housing earlier.
Yeah.
You mean not built to a high residential code modular, or you mean like factory built off-site and it is to a high residential, so you plot it down?
Second option.
Okay.
Yeah. So this company was super excited. They've been following our journey since we started this 3 years ago. So they said, hey, we really want to make this an opportunity. So they're actually working with Habitat for Humanity up in Cleveland to build 3 of them. So in theory, everything's in theory until it's in practice. It should work.
Also,
Yes, ma'am.
earlier when you said you had a housing model prior to you embarking on this, you said it costs twice as much to build in an urban center as it did in a rural location.
Yes.
What caused that?
So that is a really great question. When we were looking at our cost benefit analysis from across the state, we found that ease in access to materials as well as labor. It really depended on where you were. Like, I really thought it was going to be cheaper to build in rural Ohio. Not the case, because they have to pay the shipping costs to get everything into that particular area. And that offset the labor costs, and that's what drove up the cost for the house. So comparably, you could look at the same $400,000 house in a similar community, and it just wasn't, it didn't make sense. Yeah. All right, I think that's my time. Thank you. Yeah.
If you're building these houses on inner city lots, do you think the individuals building these houses would have the resources to build a house that's 300,000 or 400,000?
Would they have the resources? Quite honestly, it really depends on the community, and I know that's a very political answer, but it really depends on the community and the resources that you're willing to provide. Because what we found is some communities were able to do different financing options. I will say that other specific lenders across the state, they've been able to help, and they've been able to say, hey, this falls within these different program guides within our lending. So we would like to be a resource for these different folks that want to build homes on infill lots. So they're providing those resources. I think First National Bank's one of them. There's a couple other ones as well. But it's really going to be dependent upon the amenities and things that you're able to pull together for that community. So we got the resource guide together so that we could provide those resources, but we didn't want to infringe upon the ability for that community to make decisions. So, you're very welcome.
Thank you for it.
Thank you.